The FBI announced last week that it's arrested 3 more people who participated in, or at least were hanging around the Capitol during the January 6th insurrection attempt. They were charged with entering a restricted building and disorderly conduct. These 3 men are young and seemingly pro-Trump, but they're also active duty Marines with jobs in intelligence, making them another alleged example of what looks like an extremism problem in our nation's military. According to a criminal complaint, the FBI found them through Instagram. An agent reportedly found pictures posted by one man named Micah Coomer, who wrote in the captions that he was, quote, glad to be a part of history. After the FBI got a search warrant to go through his direct messages, the agency says it found him talking about the way the election was conducted and about how we needed a, quote, Civil War II. Another of the Marines actually talked about attending January 6th during a security clearance interview last June. The complaint also says that when he found out that storming the Capitol was being portrayed negatively, he decided to stop telling people he went. Images in the complaint clearly showed 2 of them wearing caps but no other facial coverings, moving through the building for less than an hour, visiting Statuary Hall, the Rotunda, and even putting a MAGA hat on a statue. Vice News reached out to the Marine Corps. They told me in an email that they're aware of the investigation and allegations, and the Marine Corps is, quote, fully cooperating with the appropriate authorities in support of the investigation. The former defense secretary from the Trump administration, Mark Esper, told me last year that he did not see extremism as a, quote, very big threat in the military.
A few months after you left office, the Pentagon issued that unprecedented stand-down order so that the military could address extremism in the ranks. Were you aware of this threat during your time as Secretary of Defense, and how big of a threat did you see this when you were there?
It's a problem we have to continue to deal with. It's always been there. It probably always will be there, but I don't overstate it. I wouldn't overstate it. There's so many great Americans serving right now, and they're the best our country has to offer. And the handful, and I think across the services, it's probably a few dozen, should not taint that bigger pool. And I would not overstate the issue.
But President Joe Biden doesn't seem to agree. One of his defense secretary's first acts was ordering a stand down of troops to assess extremism in the ranks, which is something we've been tracking too. My colleague Ben McCoo has spent years digging into who and what is inspiring both active duty and retired military personnel to follow extremist ideologies.
When you encounter these types of individuals that are involved in violent extremism, that have military backgrounds, is that an added level of threat?
Most definitely. What we do is we have to assess, first of all, what level of training did that individual receive in the military? How long were they in the military? Did they have combat deployments? In addition to the training itself those individuals receive, they've had the ability to experience different surroundings. From those experiences, they may be more adept at maintaining a level of calmness during stressful situations, such as if someone was to conduct an attack or engage in a level of violence. They've seen and experienced those things before. We take all that into consideration in planning and preparation for arrests, for search warrants, for the level of violence that that person has the skill set to carry out.
As Liz mentioned, I've been investigating why veterans and active duty servicemen are joining extremist organizations. I kept seeing vets as major players inside domestic hate groups that I covered, so I wanted to know more. And it turned out the problem isn't new. Since the 90s, more than 500 veterans and people in uniform have been involved in criminal extremist acts, overwhelmingly from the far right. Experts have told me that after every major American war, extremist violence spikes, and that trend can be traced back to the Civil War. And it's not getting any better today, because the War on Terror generation of soldiers is the largest since World War II. Their population is in the millions. Many of these vets come back traumatized and without proper support systems, while at the same time craving the military's sense of brotherhood and wanting to be part of something bigger. As I found in my report, American Terror, Extremism in the Ranks, some of them are finding that community in the far right.
Do you think that the military and the veteran community tends to be more radical?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I'd say, especially from the point of view of the left, because you guys are like, anything right at Ted Cruz is radical. I would most certainly believe that the majority of white veterans are radical.
Do you think that the war on terror and the two wars we were in, obviously that created tons of veterans?
Yes.
I think it's fueled a lot of people on the right. Do you think that's correct?
Heck yeah. I mean, you seen your buddy bleed and die for some bullshit, right? What has our blood bought us? Where does the Aryan get to cash out? We spilled a lot of it, dude. For 100 years, man, a whole lot, dude. Since the Civil War, dude.
And do you think that that's something that, some veterans come out thinking?
I think everyone thinks it, man. Everyone from a military family, dude. Why bleed for this?
I'm Michael Learmonth, editor-in-chief of Vice News. Too often, traditional news outlets shy away from the real stories and experiences of those living through global conflicts. Not Vice News. Our reporters are on the ground, fearlessly covering the human stories that shape our world. You and millions of others can continue to read, watch, and listen to Vice News for free. But we hope you'll consider making a one-time or ongoing contribution of any size at vice.com/contribute. Every contribution, no matter how big or small, helps support the journalism Vice News brings to you every day. Thank you.